Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of SoTellUs Time with Trevor and Troy Howard. Today, we're going to be discussing the unfair advantage. Troy, what is the unfair advantage? What does that mean in business?
All right. So I think one of the best ways to demonstrate this is to relate it to a story. So how many of you guys have seen Back to the Future 2? All right. So in that movie, you have this Biff, who's kind of the bad guy, right? The teenager who's picking on Marty, McFly, and all them. And Biff, as an older guy, what he does is he gets a hold of the time machine, the DeLorean, and he goes back. What he does is he goes down and he buys an almanac, a sports almanac with like 50 years of every single, sporting event, who won. And then what he does is he goes back in time and he gives it to his teenage self. So he shows up there, he gives him the sports almanac, and basically he says, don't be a knucklehead, just take this book and, basically gamble and put money down on every single one of these things, and you'll be one of the richest men in the world. And that's an unfair advantage, right? He basically knows the future. He can control the future because he knows exactly what's going to happen. So that's kind of a really good example of the unfair advantage. Biff didn't do anything, right? Younger Biff didn't do anything to become like one of the richest men in the world. He was just handed an almanac and told, here's what you do, and boom, you do it, and you're rich.
Dude, I wish we all had that.
Amen.
So basically what? That kind of fell into his lap.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to talk about some different unfair advantages, and in that case, it fell into his lap. He didn't have to do anything. It just happened. And you probably know some business owners out there that you're like, dude, that just fell into his lap, that business. Like, he was so lucky. He doesn't deserve it. It just fell in his lap, and it worked out perfectly for him.
Yeah, I mean, dude, I definitely have some business owners that I have looked at that I'm just like, oh my gosh, that just worked out so great for you. It's so awesome. And I'm happy for them. That's the thing, is we have to be happy for other people, because guess what? There's enough money out there for everybody. So that's one thing that I think people need to realize is be happy for other people's success. Okay, another way that there's an unfair advantage is people are born into it. So they have family money. They just have money comes and builds more money, right? And so like Donald Trump, for instance, I remember somewhere it said something about Donald Trump, he's like, I started my own business, my first business, building in Manhattan with a small $1 million loan from my dad. And I'm like, $1 million loan? That would be so awesome. I think 90% of businesses out there are like, dude, if I could get $1 million just handed me, that would be freaking phenomenal. And the funny thing is at the time, Fred Trump, his dad, he was actually one of the wealthiest men, one of the richest men in all of America at that point. So it's pretty crazy. Now, a good example of that is you're born with it, right? So stay with me here. It might be a little weird, but we're going to talk about fitness. I mean, I see these people all over Instagram, these dudes that are 6'6" and 350 pounds of just straight up muscle, and they're up there at the gym throwing weight around and doing all this. And then you see these, girls who are just gorgeous and super fit. And here's the thing is, I was just consulting with Troy, and I were both just consulting with this fitness guru, and she straight up said, the thing is, I was actually born with it. I was born this way. And I was sitting there thinking dude, I wish I was born that way instead of being this skinny fat guy that's skinny chicken legs, skinny arms, and then this big fat belly, right? And I wish I was born with it. But that's the thing is, literally, we look at all these people and we compare ourselves to them, and they were born with it. Yes, they had to work out and they had to, do some things to make it a little bit better, but they were literally born with these beautiful bodies that are like Greek gods and goddesses. And, the rest of us are all sitting there going, ugh, I wish I looked like that,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. That's the thing is, again, genetics, your genetics are your genetics. You can't change that, so some people just have an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, is there a way that we can get ahead of those people?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we're going to be talking about today is how to get ahead of those people. So another, unfair advantage might be that your competitors have a head start on you, right? So maybe you're starting a new business. Maybe you're, a pest control company. And you're like, oh my gosh, my competitors are these guys over there, and they've got all these trucks, and they've already got marketing, and they're doing flyers. And how the heck am I going to compete with those guys when I'm just starting out with my business? So they've got this head start on you. I mean, a perfect example of that is it doesn't mean that you can't do it. That's the thing to remember, is just because they have a head start doesn't mean that you can't beat them. And a really good example of that is, like, how many of you remember Friendster? Friendster was like the original social media site, right? Most of us probably didn't even have a Friendster account, right? That's how old it is.
Yeah.
But Friendster came out, and then it was quickly beat by MySpace, right? And then Facebook came out after that, and it crushed MySpace. Now, it doesn't mean that MySpace didn't have a huge following. It did have a huge following. It was like this really big competitor with a head start. But when Facebook came out and it was better and people liked it better and, it had better service or whatever it might be, boom, it crushed MySpace. So I don't want you ever to feel like, well, my competitors have this head start, so I can't beat them. That might just be an unfair advantage they have in the beginning, but you can overcome that. Now look at Instagram. Like, Instagram came out and started like just going and almost like crushing Facebook. And all of a sudden Facebook, what'd they do? They're like, oh crap, let's buy these guys for $1 billion because we don't want to lose what we've already got. So that's what they did. They bought them for $1 billion to take away the competition so that they could still stay at the top. So, again, a head start is an advantage, and it might be an unfair advantage in the beginning, but it doesn't have to define your business and stop you from beating them out. Another one.
Well, real quick, too, just to talk about that. I mean, a lot of people don't do things. They never start because they're like, oh, like, what could be bigger and better than Facebook? And think about if Instagram would have had that mentality. Well, I've got this great idea for people to post like pictures and just a little blurb, but there's no way that I could ever build something as big as Facebook. And now, Facebook bought them for $1 billion. I mean, what if they had that attitude? You can't have that attitude that, oh, somebody else is already in the industry.
Yeah, exactly. Another example of that is like us. Some people in the very beginning when we launched SoTellUs were like, oh, but like, there's Yelp out there and they're huge and you guys are never going to be able to compete with Yelp. Well, guess what? We're way better than Yelp. All of our clients love us way more than Yelp, and we do so much more than them as far as like videos and all these really cool things. But if we would have just said in the beginning, like, oh yeah, you're right, Yelp is going to crush us, there's no way we could ever compete with those guys, all of us would be stuck with crappy Yelp. Right? All of our clients wouldn't be able to get video reviews. Yeah. So, you have to be able to just move forward and don't get scared because there's already somebody out there doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what is another way to have an unfair advantage? Definitely, and it's simple, and we all have this, is work ethic. Work ethic. I mean, we can outwork these other companies. Let me tell you something. When companies get super big, they get these employees, hundreds of employees, and I've seen this a million times as we have gone around and consulted for these businesses where they have all these employees that some of them, they don't even know exactly what it is that they do. Like, when you have all these employees, I promise you, hundreds of employees, you are going to have employees that are really not doing very much or accomplishing much in a day. So the thing is we can always outwork those lazy employees. Meaning, like, for instance, when we are competing against Yelp, like you were just talking about. I mean, Yelp literally has a huge budget. Some of these competitors have a huge budget, and we're able to outmarket them and compete with them, and we don't even have a budget close to as large as they do. I mean, for instance, one of our competitors, I know for a fact, spends hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on marketing, and they are in the number 1 position wherever you go. But guess who's in the number 2 position for like a tenth of what they're spending? Us. Ding, 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 ding. Like, it's super exciting. And the reason is why? Because they have all these employees that kind of know what they're doing, or maybe even do know what they're doing, but they're not paying attention like I'm paying attention. Even though we own a 7-figure business, I'm still paying attention super close to what's going on. I'm keeping a thumb on the pulse, is like what they say, right? And they've got all these employees that aren't doing that. And I have my employees and they help out and they do it. But again, I can outwork them and outsmart them.
Yeah, absolutely. And what Trevor's talking about here is, we've talked about some unfair advantages that other people have. These are the unfair advantages that you can utilize in your business to beat your competitors. And I love what you just said about, like, they have people who are out there and lazy, right? And the great thing about it is if someone's already in the market and you're coming out, you can, like in the situation Trevor talked about, like our competitors have to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to stay in that number 1 spot. We don't need that number 1 spot because our product's better than theirs. So we can take the number 2 spot, spend way less money, and still generate tons of new clients. So that's the thing about, being the up and comer and the new person, and especially leveraging technology, is you may not have to spend as much money as your competitor, and they'll keep doing what they were doing. And eventually, it's not going to work anymore for them. So, Trevor, why don't you talk about technology and marketing? I think that's a really good one too.
Yeah, technology marketing. That's definitely a way that you can compete against these big dogs in the industry. Or like, for instance, let's just take an industry and specifically like pest control. Okay. Pest control is super saturated, at least here in Arizona, for sure. There are pest controls. I can pick from 1,000 different pest control companies, probably even more than that, to be honest. And so if you had the attitude, again, going back to the attitude of like, oh, well, there's this pest control company and they've got like 100 trucks and how am I ever going to compete with that? You know what? It's just getting started. You just have to literally get started. And then maybe you're the next Instagram that crushes Facebook. And then that competitor, you either crush them or they come to you and they're like, we want to buy you because you've gotten so big. So don't ever underestimate yourself or be shy because someone else is out there. But using the latest technology can really help you in your marketing, making sure that you're doing some of the things that maybe these other guys aren't doing, like Instagram and Facebook and social media. I mean, everybody, like, again, in the pest control industry, they're knocking doors, and it's a very effective way to add new clients. But what about online? There's a lot of people that are Googling how to get rid of scorpions, how to get rid of these spiders in my house. Oh my gosh, I found a freaking cockroach. If there was a cockroach in my house, my wife would freak out, and you better believe she would be on Google searching it up. So maybe making sure you're using that, the latest technology and marketing strategies online is a really good way to have an unfair advantage, because some of these guys that have been around, these old dogs, they've been around forever and they don't want to go and do this technology. They don't understand it. They don't want to understand it. They know what they know, and that's all they want to do. Right?
Yeah, exactly. They know what has worked for them in the past. They don't want to try anything new, and that's where you can come in and take over the market. Another thing is to use more powerful marketing like reviews, right?
Yeah.
A lot of them, they don't have that many reviews. They're, like I said, they're old school. So you can come in, you can create, a ton of reviews for your company. You can actually use those in your marketing, and you can actually come out better than them. So, your marketing will be more effective because you're using social proof. They're not, right? So that's another way to do it. And then finally, the biggest advantage that you can have in today's world is utilizing video. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of facts that are really important for you to understand as a business owner. First off, video traffic made up 69% of all global internet traffic in 2017. So think about that. And this year, it's probably, 2018, probably even higher. 2019,
it's just
even
growing.
higher. It's growing every single year, right?
Yep.
So 69% of the traffic out there is people watching video. So what do people want? They want video. Are your competitors using video? Probably not. So you should be using video, right? They're afraid of it. They don't know how to do it. And, and it seems like too hard for them. Well, you can jump in, you can do it, and you can, outperform them. Here's another. This is my favorite fact. Viewers retain 95% of a message when they watch it in a video compared to 10% if they read it. I want you to go and look at your competitors' websites. What's on their website? Is the majority of it just written content? Well, guess what? That's not what your potential customers want to see. They want video. So your website should have video. Your marketing should have video. You should be looking at how to use video so that your consumers and potential customers can retain your message and actually make a buying decision. So video is really huge in that way.
Yeah, and the thing is, Troy, that people get scared of video. Like you said, they're scared of it. They don't know how to do it. And so I think it's really important, and this is such a big topic because every business should be using video somehow. They need to be incorporating it. And actually, Troy did an amazing podcast just the other day on video marketing, right?
Yes,
What was the name of that one, Troy?
So that one, let's take a look here. You can
Episode 18, right?
Yep, episode 18 is called How to Use Video to Grow Your Business. And in that episode, I actually give you 4 different types of videos that you can start using in your business today. So, you may not go, well, I don't know how to use this video or that video or whatever, but there's 4 different types that you can start, recording and utilize in your business. So definitely go check out that podcast. And, even if you only pick 1 or 2 of them, start doing it today.
Oh, yeah. And guys, again, every business should be utilizing video. And I know some of you might be sitting there going, I don't even think video would work for my industry, or I don't have a clue how to get started. We had one of our listeners reach out to us the other day that had listened to episode 18 of Troy's video marketing, right? And how to use it. And he was a physical therapist. And he had always thought, like, how would I use video? I want to use video in my business, but I don't know how. And after listening to that podcast, he reached out and he was like, oh my gosh, there was like three of those ways that you were talking about. Three of them, I was like, oh, I could totally do that. And that would be so easy.
Oh yeah, it's really funny too. Last night I was at somebody's house, and this is kind of interesting. I went into the bathroom, and guess what was sitting there right around the toilet? It was that squatty potty thing, right?
Oh.
I'm not going to say much about it, but it's basically this little squatty potty thing.
Oh.
And they sold, I don't know, $50 million, $100 million of those squatty potties because of a video they made.
Yeah.
Like that was their entire marketing platform, was this video that went viral. Again, you don't have to have viral videos, but it's what people want to see.
Yeah.
And just by having a video, even if it's not, $1 million video that you produce, having a video over your competitors is going to set you apart.
Absolutely. Let me tell you about one of our clients. So one of our clients and podcast listeners, make sure you're all subscribing and getting every podcast that we put out, because we put out great content. One of our clients was using our system to collect video reviews, and they were actually in the childcare industry, and they got some videos, not very many, but got some videos from their parents, the happy parents, right? And the system pushed it out throughout all the social media and through the marketing and SEO and everything. It does what it does, okay? But we're not here to talk about that. But I just want to kind of talk about what happened for her with these videos. So they took they did the videos, our system marketed it for them, and then what happened from there was 6 months. Within 6 months, they had 150 students apply. And they actually had to get a second location, and it generated them over $1 million in revenue. And why? Why? Because the most important thing that you have is your children, right? You are just, especially moms. Moms care way more about their children than they care about their husbands. That's for sure.
Very true.
Okay, we all know that. It's like you fall in love, and you get married, and you fall in love, and you think, oh my gosh, I've never loved anybody like I love this person. And then you have children, and all of a sudden your wife has somebody that they love way more, and they think, oh my gosh, I never could love anybody more than I love my children. And it's true, because we all go, the husbands get put into second place. But you've got these amazing little balls of joy, right? Because they're never pains in the butt. You got these amazing balls of joy, and you're like, what am I going to do with my kids when I got to go to work? And it's so important. And so they were just able to see these videos of other parents talking about how amazing this childcare center was. And it generated 150 new applications. 150 new applications. They actually had to get a second location. So just from getting some videos and having it out there generated them $1 million. So how many of my listeners out there would like to generate $1 million off of a few videos? She had no idea when she signed up for the service that that's what was going to happen. So it was obviously a pleasant surprise, and it is an amazing story and a perfect story talking about how just getting started, get some videos and get them out there into the world, because you really have no idea the impact that it will have on your business, but I guarantee it will.
Absolutely. So again, go check out episode 18 and get those 4 different types of videos that you can start using today. And anything else, Trevor, you want to add before we're done?
Just make sure that you subscribe so that you're getting the notifications for every new podcast that we do. Troy and I have the brand new podcast going. We're going to actually be recording them and putting on our YouTube channel. We have a lot of followers on our YouTube channel, so we're going to put these videos on the YouTube channel and have them on our podcast. So you can definitely subscribe to the podcast. You can go to YouTube and subscribe there. You can find us on Facebook. Guys, we are just going to be putting out tons of great information all for you. All the years of marketing that we have, we want to share with you guys to help you grow your businesses. So
that's it for me.
All
Keep
right.
trucking along, people.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys on the next episode of SoTellUs Time with Trevor and Troy Howard. Peace out. Wow.